2024 is dead. We took it out behind the barn and shot it in the back of the head to make way for 2025. But we can't be done with 2024 just yet. We have to go back and look at the 10 best AEW matches of 2024 to reminisce on what good times we had that year and what we can be excited about in 2025. The 10 best matches from the company that prides itself on producing the best matches. A lot of greatness to talk about. We're starting at number 10, going all the way up to number 1, looking at the action, the characters, the drama, the crowd, and the stories that these matches were able to create. If you like the video, please consider subscribing, leaving a like, or leaving a comment, as it really does help me out. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and get into the video with the 10th best AEW match of 2024. To start with number 10, we are looking all the way back to the beginning of the year, AEW's first pay-per-view of the year at Revolution, where we're talking about an absolutely fantastic match, but not the best match on the card. Bryan Danielson taking on Eddie Kingston. Two guys who refuse to believe that wrestling is fake, because they just hit each other harder than anything I've seen all year. There's handprints on chests, bloody mouths, scrapes down the back. It's just such a violent, physical match. And it does an amazing job about capturing the energy that only Tomohiro Ishii really is able to consistently get in these kind of brawls, where you go, they're trying to kill each other, and this is the end. This is the last thing that they can take. There's no way Danielson can take another move. Oh my God, he kicked out, and he just dropped Eddie Kingston on his head. Okay, so Eddie Kingston said there's no way he can kick out. Oh my God, he kicked out too. What are we even doing here? It was so incredible, did such an amazing job capturing that energy. The reason it finds itself at number 10 is because the action did lull at some points. Not everything looks super crisp or super clean, but it did an incredible job telling a great story and really putting over Eddie Kingston as someone who would have been a top guy in 2024 had an injury not waylaid him in the meantime. For number 9, we're moving ahead a few months to Dynasty with what Dave Meltzer called one of the greatest pay-per-view openers of all time. Hard to argue, certainly the best I've ever seen. Kazuchika Okada versus Pac. Up to this point, Okada, since signing as a full-time member of the AEW roster, hadn't really had a blow-away, incredible match. But this was the match. Pac has such an incredible job about pulling greatness out of everyone and pushing it to its highest potential. We saw that with Will Ospreay. We saw it with Bryan Danielson. We saw it in a bunch of his TV matches this year. Claudio is another one who he had a fantastic match with. He is just consistently great. And Okada on this night really leveled up and sort of shed a lot of the comedy veneer that he'd been wearing throughout the year and just became the Rainmaker of old. And they came together and had an absolutely incredible match. It opened the pay-per-view on such a high that the following matches just couldn't compete with. The action was off the charts. It was so smooth. Like every sequence they had was just perfectly timed, where to the nearest microsecond they couldn't have timed some of these spots better. It's absolutely incredible action, well worth being on this list. But the action didn't quite peak high enough to level it up to some other matches that we still have to talk about. And we're going to start by looking at number 8. And look whose name appears again. Pac. Seems like he's a really good wrestler or something. With number 8, we're jumping ahead to All Out. Once again, looking at Pac, this time versus Will Ospreay. Our first, but definitely not last, Ospreay match of this list. Incredible match. This is reminiscent of the super indie boom of like the mid 2010s, where they just would go out there and throw absolutely everything at the wall to try to have an incredible match. Some of the best moves and selling you will see all year. The physicality in this match was so off the charts, and it's just one of those perfect combinations where Will Ospreay is one of the best wrestlers on planet Earth. Pac is one of the best wrestlers on planet Earth. and they wrestle in sort of the same hybrid style. So they're just able to come together and complement each other so much and have an incredible match. Now, this match did receive 5 stars. I wouldn't put it quite that high. I think it falls just below the mark, but it's absolutely insane some of the things they do in this match, and the crowd absolutely loves it. This is such a hot match in front of a great crowd. Number 8 on our list. Coming in at number 7, we have a match that I'm definitely the high guy on. This is a match that I gave 5 stars that Meltzer didn't, and I feel like no one else on the internet agrees with me how great this match is. We're looking at Forbidden Door, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Orange Cassidy. The reason I gave this 5 stars is because I tried to construct in my head what would the perfect Zack Sabre Jr. versus Orange Cassidy match look like on screen. And I got some ideas. Okay, Orange Cassidy would start out by taunting him a little bit, but then Zack would work him over, doing some of his beautiful technical wrestling. And then Cassidy would come back for the super hot finish where they're just going back and forth, big move, big move, big move. And they did that, but to a better degree than I thought they could do it. The layout for this match was perfect. It complemented both guys' wrestling styles so much. And it's just one of those things where you go, okay, they can go out and have an incredible match, and they just deliver everything you want them to deliver and more. So I absolutely think this deserves 5 stars. I think it's way underrated by the larger wrestling community and worth going back and taking a watch just to see how great it truly is. Number 7. And falling just short of the top 5, coming in at number 6, another 5-star match. This time I gave it 5 stars and Meltzer gave it 5 stars. We're looking at the March 6th episode of Dynamite where Will Ospreay took on Kyle Fletcher in just a TV match that happened to be one of the best bangers of the year. This match was awesome, partly because the action was absolutely impeccable. It was one of those matches where you have two best friends in there, so they just choose to hit each other harder than they've ever hit anyone else in their history of pro wrestling. It's awesome to see that. But also, it brought this feeling to AEW where Will Ospreay is here, and no matter if he's wrestling on pay-per-view, wrestling on Revolution, which is a match we'll talk about in a few minutes, or wrestling on TV, he will give you match of the night, and he will give you everything he can possibly give you to entertain yourself. And well, who's this other guy? Who's this Kyle Fletcher guy who just had the breakout match of anyone's career you've ever seen and pretty much nailed himself on as being a staple of AEW throughout the future? It was just so many good vibes came together and coalesced to have a brilliant TV match. It comes in at number 6. It couldn't quite crack the top 5 because it didn't really have a story going into it that could improve the dynamics. The character work in it was just two guys trying to have a great match. There was no additional edge to it, but the action pushes it to 5 stars and pushes it to number 6 on this list. So now we're into the top 5, and we've already talked about some 5-star matches, some matches with unbelievable action, some matches that have those intrinsic qualities that set them above others and put them into the field of greatness. But with the top 5, we are really looking at legendary matches, matches that will be remembered in the pro wrestling business forever for standout stories, incredible moments, and the greatest professional wrestling action you will ever hope to see. And we're starting with number 5. We're starting with Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher. That's not right. We just talked about that match in number 6. Oh, no, that's right. They had a second incredible match at Full Gear, and this match was better than their first one because they had the added dynamic of Kyle Fletcher being this back alley street thug heel to combat Will Ospreay. This is the greatest star-making performance we've ever seen from a wrestler in Kyle Fletcher when he already had one of the greatest star-making performances earlier in the year on Dynamite in his match with Ospreay. They take everything that was great about the first match and level it up to such a higher degree in this match. The character work was better. The action was better. This felt less like two friends having a match and more like two guys who legitimately wanted to kill each other having a match. The bleeding, the physicality on the outside with the steel steps, everything in this match coalesced to tell a perfect story that set Kyle Fletcher up to be the top AEW guy going into 2025. Incredible match. Number 5. Number 4, we're going back to Revolution, but sticking with Will Ospreay. We're talking Will Ospreay versus Konosuke Takeshita. I loved this match. This match was phenomenal. Some of the best action you will see all year. Stuff that legitimately had me stand up off of my couch when I was watching it and just luxuriate in what was happening in front of me. The forearms Takeshita was throwing and the German suplexes he was hitting were crisp, clean, like you would never see in professional wrestling. And every move that Ospreay hit, perfectly timed, perfectly executed. This is the match that I love so much, where just every move hits 100% effectively. You watch it and you say, there is not a single thing those guys could have done to make any one of the moves look more impactful than they did. An incredible, perfect wrestling match, and we're putting it at number 4. Some of the best professional wrestling you'll ever see, and it's only number 4 on the list, which speaks to the credit of these next 3 matches. For our number 3 entry, we are staying at Revolution and jumping ahead to the main event where the Young Bucks tried to steal the tag team titles away from Darby Allin and Sting unsuccessfully. Sting's last match, and this match really can't compare to the physicality or the action of Ospreay versus Takeshita, but the story and the atmosphere that surrounded this match were just incredible. The opening video package for Sting's entrance is maybe the greatest thing I've ever seen in pro wrestling. I wasn't watching Sting in the 80s and 90s. I wasn't alive when he was like the top babyface in wrestling, so I don't have this emotional connection with Sting, but that video package made me the biggest Sting fan in the world and did the same thing for everyone else watching this pay-per-view. It was just the perfect retirement match. And then they went out there and they just had an incredible match in its own right. Even without all the pomp and circumstance of Sting's last match, the huge crowd reaction, the video packages, the incredible entrances, this is still an amazing, amazing match. Some incredible spots. That Darby senton into the glass is one of the most brutal things you'll ever hope to see in your life, but in just a chef's kiss perfect way. Everything about this match is perfect. I love it so much. Maybe other than our number 1 entry, this is the match that I will go back to the most and watch, probably just for the entrances. For number 2, we are looking at maybe the hottest wrestling crowd since Bad Bunny in Puerto Rico, since The Rock and Hogan at WrestleMania. Just this dynamic, electric audience that were so there for the main event of All In. Bryan Danielson versus Swerve Strickland. The final countdown entrance for what could have been Danielson's last match or his greatest career win, winning the AEW title. From the first second, the video package, the crowd was just enrapturing. There was, 80,000, 100,000 people in Wembley Stadium that day? There could have been a billion people in there from the way it sounded. And the 2 guys went out there and just had such an incredible match. And this is not a match like most Danielson matches that thrives because of the action. This is a match that thrives because of the storytelling. Swerve just ripping the hopes and dreams away from the crowd, from Bryan Danielson, from his family watching at ringside, making his kids cry, making everyone believe he can't get it done. Your hero is done today. I am retiring him. And Bryan Danielson saying, no, you're not. I'm the greatest wrestler on planet Earth. I'm the greatest wrestler of all time. You can't beat me. I will become the champion. An incredible story that played out in front of one of the best crowds I've ever seen in wrestling. Our number 2 pick, any other year, this would have been number 1. Any other year, this would have been the greatest match. But it just so happens that AEW in 2024 put on what I consider to be the greatest professional wrestling match I've ever seen in my entire life. We're on to our number 1 entry, and I hope you like hearing me kiss Bryan Danielson and Will Ospreay's ass, because they went out on Dynasty and had the greatest professional wrestling match I've ever seen in my entire life. There's not a lot I can say about this match without being repetitive, without saying they told an incredible story. They had the greatest action you've ever seen. They created an insanely hot crowd. It had a once in a lifetime dream match feel that so few other matches are able to contrive. Everything about it was perfect, and I can't go into every minute detail because we'd be here for hours of me just loving this match. If you haven't seen it, what are you doing? Go out and watch it. It's the best. And going into this match and going into this pay-per-view, there was this little bit right inside of my brain right here, this little nagging trepidation saying, "But what if it's not? What if it's not the greatest match you've ever seen? What if it's just 4.5 stars? Oh yeah, it's really good. It's great, but it's not a 5-star match. It's not the blowaway match people were hoping for." But it was the best match. It had all the qualities you could hope for greatness in pro wrestling. Every single one nailed out of the freaking park. And part of the reason I love this match so much is because I just got to luxuriate every second saying, yes, this is the best. This is everything I hope for. This is why I love pro wrestling. Insane match, a match I'll remember for the rest of my life, a match I'll go back and watch at least once a year, and the best AEW match of 2024. Oh man, my jaw is hurting from how much I kissed Will Ospreay's ass in this video, but he deserved it. 5 matches of the year from Will Ospreay, 3 top 10 matches from Danielson, 2 from Pac, and 2 from Fletcher. What an incredible year for pro wrestling we've had. Some incredible AEW matches. But I want to know what you guys thought. What should have been on this list that I failed to include? Should some matches have been higher? Should there have been that were some lower? Is there anything that could have topped Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson from Dynasty as the best AEW match of the year? Let me know down in the comments below. And while you're there, please consider subscribing and leaving a like, as it really does help. If you like this video, as I said, there's a WWE video already up on this channel, top 10 WWE matches of 2024, New Japan, TNA, the women's matches, they're coming out later in this week, so stay tuned for those. I want to thank you guys so much for watching and sticking with me in 2024, the first year I had my channel. All the support you guys give, all the comments, all the likes, it really means a lot. And there's not a lot there. There's a few likes per video, maybe 1 comment per video, but it really does mean the world to me to see. And I want to thank you guys so much. But with all that being said, I have been Isaiah from Hot Tag Wrestling. I hope you follow me on this incredible pro wrestling journey through 2025, and I will see you guys there.